Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video here. So I wanted to do my World Beyond full series review and just give my thoughts on the entire series as a whole now that we've actually watched it all. Because, this was a show that was hyped up many years, or not many years ago, a couple years ago. And it was hyped up a lot because of, we were waiting for the Rick movies to come out. And so that was like the big question. Like when the Rick movie does come out, we're going to know a lot more information about it. And that's because of the Walking Dead World Beyond. We're actually going to see a lot of things. And there's a lot of things that were promised in the very beginning. A lot of things that, that were teased that in the end ended up not being the case. And so that's why I wanted to kind of get into this. So obviously this will contain spoilers for the entire series, but I'm sure all of you guys have already watched it. That's why you're here. And also, if you haven't followed me on Twitch yet, the link is just down below. I stream a lot of games on there and stuff. It's a lot of fun interacting with you guys there. It's just Appetite for the Dead. I will be streaming whatever the Walking Dead related announcement's going to be. I'll be streaming my live reaction, and then we'll talk about it. We'll do some guessing beforehand. So yeah, I hope to see you guys there. So World Beyond, if you remember, when it first started, it was called, I guess the code name was Monument, I believe. And I remember, in the beginning, we were very hyped for it. And then we learned that the cast was going to focus on like this. Well, it was going to be a younger cast. And I remember a lot of people immediately being like, oh, this is going to be shit. Or like right away, they're like, this is going to be so bad. I really tried to give it a chance. I really did. I was like, well, look at Stranger Things. It works. If they do it right, it could work. And man, I was so wrong. They announced the cast and right away I was like, okay, this could work. I haven't seen any of them act, but I was like, well, they're young enough where it's a little bit like Stranger Things, but not completely because they're not that young. It was honestly, it's an awkward age because like they're at an age where everything they do is just very annoying. It's just that typical like teenagers think they know it all, right? And if you're an adult, you just find it so annoying and so frustrating. Whereas I think if they were younger, like say 10 years old or 8 years old or something like that, then it's like if they're doing things, they don't really know what they're doing because they're kids, right? But they also don't think they know it all. They're just kind of trying to survive. They're trying to do all this. Instead, we have a cast of people that are basically, 15, 16, 17, 18, around there. They think they know it all. They think they're all tough and all strong. And the show, like, really, it hammers down that point that they are so tough, they're badass, and like I think that stuff it's just so cringy because you're watching it and you're like, no, you don't deserve to be able to do these things. It makes no sense that you're able to kill walkers with ease and that you can do things like this. And so I think immediately the show, right from the beginning, had a big issue with the cast. The cast has never been likable. Literally from the start, they have never been likable. I think in season 1, my favorite characters were Felix and Silas. I think they, for the most part, led that first season. But I will say season 1 overall was just very bad. There was nothing exciting about it at all. Like World Beyond season 1, sure, we got little things here and there. But, comparing it to season 2 was like much better. So much better. And so that's why I don't really want to talk about season 1 so much because nothing really happened. Honestly, it was a season focused on the characters and the characters are shit. Like completely. I'm not a fan of them. Honestly, the only character that I was a fan of near the end was Huck, in terms of the main cast anyways. And in season 2, characters like Felix, who was my favorite character in season 1, ended up not really being my favorite character because they gave him nothing to do. I actually liked Will. Like Will was probably one of the strongest characters because I think he was more real. He was more relatable. It was a little more honest, I would say. Like his reactions to things were like, okay, this is normal. This is how someone would react to these situations. He seems very smart. Whereas Felix and Iris and a lot of what they were doing in terms of trying to rebel against the CRM, it would have got them killed. And somehow it didn't get them killed, And Will, the entire time, he was always so reasonable. And I think he was just, again, very likable as a character. Same with Huck. Huck in the very beginning, I kind of liked her in season 1 a little bit. The reveals there were kind of cool that she's Elizabeth Kublek's daughter. In season 2, though, it goes into a different direction where I think she becomes the main character, and she's really the only character I would say on this show that has a proper arc. Silas, again, does nothing in season 2. In season 1, he seemed very complex with the whole, like, he killed his dad and he had these rage issues. It was different, than in season 2, like none of it mattered. So, I think in Elton, like where the hell did he go in season 2? Elton was sort of, I would argue, a pretty useless character in this series. And then you go to like characters like Hope and Iris, who they just seemed too happy. And I honestly think that they were completely miscast. And that's the one thing too. The tone of the show has just always been so off. And I think I was hoping for it to change throughout the entire series, but obviously it probably wasn't. Like, whatever the tone of the show was going to be in the very beginning, they were going to stick with that until the very end. It's about a bunch of kids dreaming of something bigger. They want to get out of this. They want to experience the world. And all of us are like, why? You live in a place that is really, really safe, really secure. Why do you want to go out there? You know, it was so frustrating. And yes, they destroyed Omaha, but like, it was still cemented in all of our brains beforehand that they wanted to leave, specifically to go find Hope and Iris's father. But it was just so off. Like, the tone of the show has always been off. It's always felt so happy and cheery, you know, going into just the apocalypse, going out into the new world. And it's just, I don't understand it. I don't understand why they went with that. You know, I almost want to say it's a slap in the face to every Walking Dead fan that has watched the original show and is like, no, like, we all saw the horrors out there. We saw what Rick, Michonne, and everyone went through. The shit you guys are trying to do, like, you guys are on crack or something. Like, what the fuck? It is not safe out there. You shouldn't be so happy to go out there. And the show from the beginning has always been super cringy, very frustrating to watch. And in the end, there was no big deaths besides Huck, right? The end battle scene was really nothing. There was nothing that was really exciting there. The dialogue and everything of this show was pretty much, for the most part, I would say bad. The only thing redeeming about this show at all was some of the Civic Republic information that we learned. And mostly that is from Elizabeth Kublik, who, you know, was barely around in the show. She came in here and there, but then she kept leaving. It was mostly Jadis. Once Jadis came in, I think in episode 5, it changed everything. Honestly, there's I mentioned it in my review or I guess for my episode 5 review, but there was a switch within episode 5 when they were starting to do some more investigative research or investigative work, I guess, within the Civic Republic. Huck was starting to look at things, and then when Jadis pops up, you know, in the post-credit scene, then it's all of a sudden like, holy shit, this could get really good. And Jadis just completely made the show her own. It was so much fun to watch her actually completely terrorize all these people, because I believe in the end she won, right? And there's a reason she's in the position that she's in. She is very smart, very, very calculated, and all the information and the little nods to Rick Grimes, even though it wasn't really anything, it was still exciting. It did build up the Civic Republic enough to the point where I think I kind of get it. I wish I could have saw Portland, you know, I wish I could have saw a little bit more of the CRM, but we saw quite a bit of it. We weren't going to see a lot of it. I wish there was more shots of the Civic Republic instead of just like a background scene, but I think that's just all budget, right? Like, it's kind of weird as of now that the Civic Republic, to me anyways, feels so small because, again, it's their budget. They have such a low budget for these shows that they can't do all these fancy graphics of like, this is the entire city, this is how big it is, like an overview of the city, right? I want them to do things like that, but they don't have the budget to do that, which is weird because they can afford it, but they just don't get that kind of a budget, right? And so, you know, when I look back at World Beyond, to me, the show was, I would say, pretty much bad from the very beginning. And so to give my official rating of The Walking Dead World Beyond, I want to say that it is rated 4 out of 10. The show was never really that great. You know, I think that those moments were really exciting, and that's why I'm glad that I sat on it for like the last week, just because I think if I would have gave my review based off the last 5 episodes of World Beyond, then it would have been a little bit higher because things actually got pretty exciting with Jadis and everything else, right? But looking back at everything, like, yes, the post-credit scene was cool, but like that post-credit scene has nothing to do with World Beyond. That could have been added to The Walking Dead. That could have been added to anything else. So like, I'm really just looking at World Beyond as a whole. And again, I think the 4 points I would give it is just the fact that it was, you know, Jadis. And I mean, I would never rate anything 0 out of 10. So I guess the 3 points I would give it were just the fact that Jadis was there. We did learn some Civic Republic stuff, but I'm not going to be fooled by all of that and give this like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was cool to actually see a lot of that stuff. It was cool to learn what A is, to see some of the testing, to see some of the Cure storyline stuff. But this is a show I would not recommend to people. And I wouldn't recommend watching World Beyond, you know, to learn more like Rick stuff and all that. Just watch some of the best of scenes. Or, I mean, I've been seeing the comment a lot. A lot of people can't watch the show, so they just watch my videos just to, you know, get my thoughts on it and stuff, because they don't care to invest their time that much in the entire show. And so I think that's a problem, especially if you want to announce like future spinoffs, because this spinoff was bad. Fear the Walking Dead hasn't really been that great. It's definitely had its ups and downs, right? Like seasons 1 was really good, season 2 was kind of eh, and then 3 got really good, and then 4 and 5 were really bad. At least season 5 was very, very bad. Like it got so bad at the end that they saw so much hate online. And then 6 redeemed itself. 7 is kind of everywhere, though the last episode seems like it's promising a bigger second half of season 7, so we'll have to wait and see. But like their spinoffs are never that great, right? And World Beyond just sort of tarnishes that. And so I hope that the Daryl and Carol spinoff is going to be good. And if they do make an announcement tomorrow that there's a new spinoff coming related on like that post-credit scene, then like it better be good. And it's hard. Honestly, at this point, it's really hard to trust that. I have all of these. Well, I'm skeptical. Like it's really just as simple as that. I'm skeptical about the direction of the Walking Dead universe under Gimple, because it doesn't seem to be that great, right? Like The Walking Dead has been really good, but I don't know how much you can credit that to Gimple or if that's Angela Kang. And I don't know why Fear got a lot better. I guess it was the showrunners, right? But yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see, because as of now, I'm not really looking forward to future spinoffs, because I feel like it's never gonna be what we actually want. It's never gonna be actually fun. They always hold back on a lot of information, and it's getting frustrating. So like I said, I would rate World Beyond 4 out of 10. I definitely don't recommend watching it. I'm very glad the show is over. It was so cool to see the Pacific Republic, to see Jada's back, to learn a lot more of that lore. But I think the bad characters, the bad dialogue, just the bad story, and the tone of the show, I think outweighs all of that. And that's why I give it my rating of 4 out of 10. So definitely post your thoughts down below. What is your rating? Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.